Found out I had a secret brother my parents gave up for adoption, then discovered they'd been celebrating holidays with him behind my back for years. I, 25F, have always considered myself incredibly close to my parents. I'm their only child, and growing up, I never once felt like I was missing a sibling or that anything was off. We had this small but loving little trio dynamic. Sunday pancakes, movie nights, birthday traditions, all of it. I used to brag to my friends that my parents were like best friends to me. I trusted them with everything. Or at least I thought I did. It all started a few months ago when I was visiting home for the weekend. My mom left her iPad on the kitchen counter while she was cooking dinner, and a message popped up. I wasn't snooping. I swear. I just happened to glance over and saw a notification that read, "Thanks, Mom. Love you." From someone named Liam. I froze for a second. The message was worded way too personally for it to be from a family friend or a random contact. The tone of it felt intimate, affectionate, like something I would write. I casually asked my mom, "Hey, who's Liam?" expecting her to say it was a cousin or someone from church. She immediately went stiff. Her smile dropped for a fraction of a second before she recovered and said, "Oh, just someone I know from volunteering." What? The lie was instant, and I knew it. I've known this woman my entire life. I know her tells. That was one of them. Later that night, while she was in the shower and Dad had gone out to pick up dessert, I found myself staring at her iPad again. I know I shouldn't have. I know it's a violation of privacy, but something in me couldn't let it go. I tapped the iMessage app, typed Liam in the search bar, and my entire world cracked open. There were hundreds of messages, stretching back years. Conversations about his life, updates on his job, health, travel plans. She sent him photos of the house, of their dog, even of me. One thread showed her telling him how proud she was of both her kids. Both? I felt sick. I just stared at that screen with my heart pounding in my ears. The most recent message was from just that morning. "Can't wait to see you next week. Love you so much." That night, I barely slept. My mind kept spinning. Was Liam my cousin? Was he adopted? A godchild? I wanted to believe it was something simple, something harmless. But deep down, I already knew. No one says, "Love you, Mom," unless, well, you get it. I didn't confront her that night. I needed to think, process. The house that once felt like the safest place in the world now felt like a museum of lies. Every framed picture on the wall, every childhood memory, it all started to feel fake, staged. I couldn't stop asking myself the same questions over and over. Who is Liam? And why have they kept him a secret from me all these years? The next morning, I sat through breakfast in a complete daze. My mom was talking about some sale at the farmer's market. My dad was making corny jokes like usual, and I just stared at them. These two people I loved so deeply, who raised me with bedtime stories and dance parties in the kitchen. How could they be hiding something this massive from me? Finally, after my dad went outside to mow the lawn, I couldn't take it anymore. I turned to my mom and said as calmly as I could, "Who is Liam, really?" She froze. Like, fully froze. Her coffee cup stopped midair, her eyes locked on mine, and for a few long seconds, she just blinked. Then she gave this weak smile and said, "I told you, honey. To someone I know." I didn't even let her finish. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "I read the messages. On your iPad. I saw everything." And that's when her whole body just deflated. She looked older in an instant, like the weight of 20-something years had just slammed back onto her shoulders. She put the cup down, stared at the table, and whispered, "You weren't supposed to find out like this." My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. "So it's true?" I asked. "He's your son?" She nodded slowly, then said the words I'll never forget. "He's your brother. Your older brother. We gave him up for adoption when we were really young, before we were ready to be parents." It felt like the air got knocked out of me. She started crying and explaining everything at once. How she was only 19 when she got pregnant, how my dad was just 21, how they were broke and terrified and had no support. They made what they thought was the best choice at the time and placed Liam with a couple who couldn't have children of their own. Then she said something that truly crushed me. "We always planned to tell you when the time was right. But the longer we waited, the harder it got. And, honestly, we were scared. We didn't want you to feel like you weren't enough. Or that we were ashamed." I was stunned, shocked, but also furious. I asked her, "Okay, fine. You were young. You made a decision. I can maybe understand that. But why keep it a secret from me for 25 years? And why are you still in contact with him like it's no big deal? And not even tell me?" She kept saying she was sorry, that they didn't mean to hurt me, that they were just trying to keep everything simple. But it wasn't simple. It was betrayal. Everything I thought I knew about my family shattered in that moment. I always thought I was the center of their world. Turns out there was a whole other world, one I was never meant to know about. I got up from the table, walked out of the house, and sat in my car for 2 hours before I could even start the engine. I wasn't just angry. I was heartbroken. Because how do you forgive someone for hiding your own sibling from you? I didn't talk to my parents for a week after that. I ignored their texts, their calls, everything. I needed space, time to process, time to breathe. But even in that silence, something kept gnawing at me. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was still more they weren't telling me. They said they'd only reconnected with Liam in the last couple of years. That was all still new. But those messages I saw, they weren't new. They stretched back years. Plural. And they weren't just polite check-ins. They were emotional, loving, intimate. Like a family who had been back together for a long time. So, one night, I did what any half-sane person in my position might do. I looked up Liam on Facebook. And what I found nearly made me throw my phone across the room. His profile was public. He lived in a city only a couple of hours away. He worked as a graphic designer, had a dog, loved hiking. But what hit me hardest were the photos. Photo after photo of him smiling with my parents. There was one of him and my mom at a coffee shop, arms around each other. One of him and my dad at a baseball game. Another one, a group selfie of Liam, my mom, my dad, in our living room. The caption, "Best birthday ever with the people who gave me life." I couldn't breathe. They hadn't just kept his existence from me. They had been actively building a relationship with him, celebrating birthdays, holidays, milestones without me. I saw one post from Thanksgiving last year with my dad carving a turkey in our kitchen. I didn't even go home that Thanksgiving because mom said they were traveling and wanted to keep things low-key. Apparently, low-key meant, "We'll be here with your secret brother instead." I was shaking, furious, devastated. The next day, I confronted them again. I showed up at their house without warning, stood in their doorway, and said, "So, how was Liam's birthday party in our house last year?" "Looks like fun." My mom turned pale. My dad looked like he'd been punched in the gut. Silence. Finally, my dad spoke. "You weren't supposed to see that." I couldn't believe it. That was their response. No apology, no explanation, just regret that I found out. I lost it. I screamed, cried, said things I don't even remember now. They tried to calm me down, said they wanted to protect me, that they didn't know how to tell me, that Liam was curious about them and they just didn't want to shut the door in his face. But what about me? I shouted. "Did you even stop to think how I'd feel? That I had a brother this whole time, and you were just smiling in family photos without me?" They went quiet again. That silence told me everything. They weren't sorry for what they did. They were sorry they got caught. After the explosion at my parents' house, I didn't contact them again for a while. I blocked their numbers, muted them on everything, and tried to throw myself into work. But I couldn't focus. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those pictures, my parents laughing with this man who shared their blood and their time, but not their truth. Eventually, curiosity got the best of me. Or maybe it was something deeper. Something in me needed to meet him. Not just to understand who he was, but to see with my own eyes what kind of person my parents had welcomed back into their lives while cutting me out of the picture. So, I sent a message. It was awkward and simple. "Hi, Liam. I'm Opie's name. I think you know who I am. Can we talk?" He responded within 10 minutes. He was polite, friendly even. Said he'd been hoping I'd reach out one day, and he was glad I had. We set up a time to meet at a small cafe halfway between our cities. I was nervous the entire drive. My hands were sweating, heart racing, mind running 1,000 miles a minute. And then I saw him. He looked a little like my dad. Same eyes, same kind of smile. But he also looked like a complete stranger. Someone I wouldn't have given a second glance if I passed him on the street. We sat, ordered coffee, and he said, "This is really weird, huh?" I nodded. For the first few minutes, we danced around the obvious. He told me a bit about his adoptive parents, who raised him well and loved him deeply. He seemed grateful for the life he had. But then he started talking about our parents, how he reached out to them when he turned 21, and how emotional that first meeting had been. I asked the question that had been burning in my chest for weeks. "Why didn't you tell me? Or reach out to me sooner?" He looked genuinely confused. "I wanted to," he said, "from the very beginning. But Mom and Dad said you didn't know about me, that they didn't think you were ready. They promised they'd tell you when the time was right." I stared at him. "That was 4 years ago, Liam." He sighed. "I know. Every year I asked. Every year they said not yet. I even offered to write you a letter once, but Mom said she'd take care of it. I thought they were being careful. I didn't know they were just never going to tell you." And that's when it hit me. My parents didn't just lie to me. They lied to him, too. They built 2 separate relationships, one with their long-lost son and one with their daughter, and they kept us in separate bubbles, managing both stories like puppet masters, stringing us along with half-truths and omissions. Liam looked genuinely upset. He said he always wondered why I never reached out, why I never even acknowledged his existence. And all this time, he believed I was avoiding him. Meanwhile, I was living in ignorance. I left the cafe more conflicted than ever. Liam didn't seem like a bad person. In fact, he seemed kind, thoughtful, even a little shy. But none of that changed the fact that the people I trusted the most in the world had lied to both of us. And for what? To avoid an uncomfortable conversation? To keep things simple? They didn't just rob me of a brother. They robbed me of the choice to know him. After meeting Liam, I thought I might feel some kind of closure. Like maybe facing the truth head-on would help me start healing. Instead, it made everything worse. I saw how Liam had been misled, too. how my parents had manipulated both of us to keep their web of secrets intact. And I couldn't stop thinking about how many memories I had that were now tainted. Family vacations, birthday parties, late-night talks with my mom where she swore we told each other everything. It was all a lie. I didn't answer their texts. I didn't return calls. Eventually, I got a handwritten letter from my mom in the mail saying how deeply sorry they were and how they never meant to hurt me. She asked me to come to dinner just to talk things out as a family. I didn't respond. Then came the guilt campaign. My aunt called, then my grandma, then my dad's cousin. Apparently, my parents had told the rest of the extended family about what happened, but with a twist. They framed it like I was the one overreacting, that I was angry and bitter about them reconnecting with Liam and that I wasn't willing to share. Excuse me? Share? This wasn't about sharing my toys or my space. This was about sharing my entire life, my identity, with someone they kept hidden from me for 2.5 decades. One cousin even said, well, it's not like they cheated on each other or anything. It's just a part of their past. You should be happy they're trying to make amends. Happy? I was done being polite. I told her flat out. They didn't just forget to mention a long-lost brother over brunch. They actively built a relationship with him for years, let him into our home, celebrated holidays with him, while I was left completely in the dark. That's not a part of their past. That's their present, one they chose to keep me out of. Eventually, I sent my parents one final message. It was short, direct, and probably the coldest thing I've ever written. You had years to tell me the truth, years to give me a chance to know my brother. Instead, you made me feel like a stranger in my own family. I'm not ready to forgive you, and I don't know when I will be. They didn't reply after that. I didn't expect them to. What I didn't expect, though, was how freeing it felt. For the first time in weeks, I could actually breathe. There was no more waiting for apologies that never came. No more hoping they'd suddenly say the right thing. Because here's the truth. Sometimes the people who raise you, who teach you about honesty and trust and love, turn out to be the very ones who break all those things behind your back. And no amount of letters or guilt or Sunday dinners can glue that kind of betrayal back together. They made their choices. Now I'm making mine. It's been 3 months since I sent that final message to my parents. 3 months of silence. 3 months of replaying every conversation, every lie, every photo I never saw, and every moment I thought we were a close-knit family. Turns out, we were only close as long as I stayed in the dark. The hardest part of all this is not just the betrayal. It's not even the lies. It's the emptiness that followed. Holidays came and went. Normally, I'd be helping my mom in the kitchen or rolling my eyes at my dad's bad jokes. This year, I spent it alone, eating takeout and watching movies I didn't care about. My phone didn't ring once. I wish I could say I feel empowered. That cutting them off was some grand moment of reclaiming my peace. But honestly, it just feels sad. I did keep in touch with Liam. Surprisingly, he was the only person who didn't try to defend what happened. He apologized, genuinely, for his part in it, even though I know none of it was his fault. He told me he never meant to take anything from me, that he just wanted to know where he came from. I believe him. We've met up twice since our first coffee. He's quiet, thoughtful, and easy to talk to. I think he's trying to build a connection with me, one that isn't tainted by our parents' mistakes. And while I'm still guarded, I appreciate his honesty more than I can explain. But every time I see him, I'm reminded of what could have been if they had just told me sooner, if they had just trusted me. I keep thinking about the years we lost, the birthdays I spent thinking I was an only child, the moments they shared with him while I was left wondering why our holiday plans were canceled or why they suddenly seemed so busy all the time. I've gone to therapy. I've journaled. I've tried to unpack my anger, my grief, my sense of identity that feels like it's been rewritten against my will. And the one thing I keep coming back to is this. Forgiveness is not the same as access. I might forgive them one day. I might even understand, on some level, why they made the choices they did. But that doesn't mean they get to waltz back into my life like nothing happened. Trust is earned. And right now, they're bankrupt. So where does that leave me? Somewhere in the middle, I guess. I'm still figuring out who I am outside of being their daughter. I'm learning how to exist in a world where my family isn't who I thought they were. And maybe that's okay. Maybe this is just what growing up really means, realizing that sometimes love and disappointment can live in the same space. I don't have a clean ending for this story. No big reunion. No tearful group hug. Just me, my boundaries, and the quiet understanding that some wounds take longer to heal. But for now, that's enough.